Kapowians, and welcome to, wait for it, the second to last episode of Kapow for 2012.
Dear God,
Won't
no!
somebody think of the children?
Oh, that is terrifying. That is much scarier than that whole Mayan end of the world thing.
Much scarier.
You know, but if the world is ending, then I can't think of anywhere I'd rather be than Kings Comics.
Absolutely agree with you there, Al. Now, this week we are finally taking a look at Volume 1 of Blacksad.
Excellent.
Plus, we've got a couple of all-ages comics that we're having a quick sneaky look at.
So that's going to be great.
It will
also, Ray will be chugging on in. He's going to be looking at an anime called Jormungand.
Yes, indeed.
I said that right?
You can ask Ray.
I'll ask Ray when he comes in.
But first, we'll have a look at Masks.
Excellent.
Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The shadow knows. That's a very good theremin.
Yeah, I've been practicing that all week. It's
Very good. Now, obviously, I wasn't around in the 30s to hear the original radio broadcast,
Really?
and I will admit that I haven't kept up with Dynamite's stable of pulp heroes. But with Chris Robertson at the helm, I figured Masks, issue number 1, was a good way to start off.
Absolutely. I mean, I've read some Green Hornet and Kato. Obviously, I know Zorro. Zorro's awesome. But again, yeah, I haven't had that much contact with the Shadow or with the Spider, who's the other one in the team.
Also, it's quite interesting to read about a team who meet up and join up, and none of them really have any super powers. The Shadow can read minds and can hypnotize people, but compare that to, you know, the Flash's super speed or Superman's everything.
I guess he's kind of, he reminds me of kind of the Dr. Manhattan of the Minutemen, you know, it's in Watchmen. It's that sort of same dynamic. He's the only one with powers. I mean, these are mostly just regular people. Albeit with a series of extraordinary talents, but they just rally together to fight injustice.
They do.
Which I think is pretty cool. And I did like the fact that injustice in this title is the establishment.
Yes, indeed it is. There is a group who call themselves the Justice Party, and they've taken over New York. Now, ironically, the Justice Party is made up of the most criminal and corrupt elements of society. They've kind of released this army of kind of stormtrooperish
a little
kind
bit
of guys.
Emo.
Out onto the streets of New York, and they're basically taking tax money from everybody on the street. You don't pay up, you go to jail.
Yeah, so cue the defiant vigilantes.
Absolutely.
It's a straightforward story, but I think it's an effective one.
No, it is. I mean, come on, who doesn't want to see the Green Hornet punch injustice in the face?
That's always good.
That's always good. But the thing that made this issue really fly for me was the artwork.
What a shocker that is.
I'm sorry, are you arguing with me
No,
on this
no,
one?
look. I think Alex Ross's work in this, sort of photorealistic work that he does in it, is very effective. And I think in many ways it sells this comic more even than the story.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you. He uses gouache paints, and it gives it a really beautiful textured look to this whole kind of 30s era hero. Works beautifully.
Absolutely.
Even the colour washes that he uses with the greens for Green Hornet, the reds for the Shadow, all helps to make this very textured.
Well.
It is. It's quite a subtle way of doing artwork. I think it's wonderful, but interestingly enough, he's only doing it for the first issue. There are other artists coming on board to do the rest of the series. It's going to be quite interesting to see how each artist have their take on each of these characters.
And how different are they going to be, or are they going to try and stick along the same lines?
Exactly.
But if we can go back to the story just for a moment, I did think it was interesting that a couple of guys in this new team are gunslingers.
Yes.
I mean, maybe it's, 1930s, that era of heroes, but we're less used to people with guns in our superhero teams these days, so that's interesting. I mean, you've got the Shadow and the Spider, who both have absolutely no problem putting a few bullets in people.
No.
The Green Hornet and Kato tend to go for the non-lethals,
they got gas and they got electricity
and punching you upside the head.
Absolutely.
That sort of stuff. But
and then of course there's Zorro who pops up.
Hasn't really popped up yet in this first issue, but I dare say when he does, he's going to be fine with a bit of the old stab.
What else are you going to use a sword for?
That's a good point.
And the only thing with this series that kind of has a bit of a niggle for me is that we haven't got a big villain yet.
That's true.
There's no big bad.
Yeah, it's mainly just goons so far.
Just goons so far. And I mean, if cinematic flops like Hancock have taught us nothing else, you need a good, strong villain of the piece.
Yeah.
They need to introduce their Moriarty or their Luthor or their Joker. This is only a mini-series, so I need that villain to show up pretty soon.
Yeah, I think that would give it nice balance, but I think, I dare say that will show up.
Yeah.
This, as a first issue, I think this did pretty well.
I think so,
I really like the artwork. I mean, as we say, that is going to change.
But
I dare say it'll change for the better as well. And I like the story. I like the characters, the interplay. Yeah, I'm giving this one a buy.
Yeah, look, I agree with you. It's really nice to come across these superheroes that I've heard of before, but I don't really know anything about them. So I get to learn a whole new story and a whole new character, which is wonderful. The art, like you said, with the changing of the guard is going to be really, really interesting. Give me that villain and I am set for this miniseries. It's still, this issue number 1 is definitely a buy. I certainly think you should check it out.
Excellent.
Cool.
I really do hope Zorro turns up soon.
Yeah. So this is an anime with a little bit of difference, isn't it, Ray?
Yes, it is. It's called Jormungand, and the second season is called Jormungand Perfect Order. It started in October, and yeah, so we thought we'd go back and take a look at this series, because it's not airing on TV at the moment, so we're going to give you just a little bit of a taste of what it's about.
Peek of it.
Yes.
Now, we did only have time to watch the first 3 episodes of Season 1.
That's right. Season 1 has 12 eps. Season 2 is up to episode 9, I believe, at the moment. You can stream it online, so you can get a taste for it there. But, well, this is kind of what we thought. The name Jormungand is derived from a creature in Norse mythology, also known as the Midgard serpent or world serpent. Jormungand, the anime, follows Coco Hekmatya, a young female arms dealer who sells weapons under HCLI, an international shipping corporation that secretly deals in the arms trade. As one of the company's unofficial weapon dealers, she secretly sells weapons in many countries while avoiding the local authorities and law enforcement agencies, as most of her work is actually illegal under international law. Traveling with her is a team of bodyguards who are mostly composed of ex-military veterans. Her latest addition, though, to her crew is Jonah, a seemingly emotionless child soldier who is skilled in combat yet ironically hates arms dealers. What follows is Coco and her crew's escapades around the world.
Now, Coco herself is quite an interesting character. She's a bit of an enigma. She's very bold and very charismatic, and she's also, I think, pretty funny.
It's quite funny.
But then she throws these tantrums that kind of makes you realise that beyond being an arms dealer and a leader of these pretty hardcore mercenaries,
yes,
she's also just a girl.
Yeah, she's a bloody brat of a leader, really. Yeah, she's quite cunning, like a cat, actually. And I also feel that she's been lumped with this responsibility. Even though she's very good at it, something sort of belies her confidence. She's practical and clinical, but also quite maternal in how she cares for Jonah, which is really nice. It's a really interesting relationship they have in this mix when you consider her as an arms dealer and him as a child soldier. It's this kind of paradox that pulls you into the series.
Now, this was a manga series first, though, right?
Yes, by Kitaro Takahashi. It's been met with some criticism in that it can get caught up in the political nature of weapon trading. And I can understand this reservation. It can get a little heavy, almost bogged down with the different government factions at play, and I get a little confused by it, but it's also the very element that sets it apart from other anime. So even though it's not often the most engaging content, it's still something that I long to watch more of. The attraction lies in what the story is not telling you. You get these small scenes between secondary characters that give clues to our protagonists and the larger picture, and that's very cool. And then again, in some ways I feel like it could be a little cleaner. Some of the information seems a bit too fragmented for me.
Really?
Each episode, yeah.
Oh no, see, for me I almost feel like it's too clean. Like everything's moving so fast that I find it difficult to breathe sometimes.
Nah, I think it breathes too much. It's one big long breath, and it needs something more to pump it up, because I don't know, my heart's not really racing yet. I'm not caught up in the stakes of it. It needs more beef.
Possibly. Well, maybe it's, for me, I think this is a bit of a slow burn of a series.
Yes.
And more beef. More beef.
More grit.
Come on now. It's tenacious and it's got backbone and it's got that explosions.
Fine, alright, but I still think it needs more action. Maybe I'm just a little, I don't know, impatient perhaps, but yeah, that's what I want from it. On the other hand, I do enjoy all the talk about the weaponry and the tactical equipment. You know, even though some of the specifics or details I'm not really familiar with, it makes the series seem very present. And if you're up on current events, there's a lot of parallels you can draw between the series and the various government factions of today. It's quite intricate in that respect.
So, did you like the score in this one, Ray?
I did, yes.
I know the title song got stuck in my head.
Yes, it can do that. I really liked the sound. I thought, yeah, lots especially a lot of the sound of the weaponry was really good. The voices and voiceovers are very good. The soundtrack itself is very catchy, so it's no wonder it got stuck in your head. It's high tempo and contemporary. It's very energetic, which is nice. I thought it could be a little distracting at times. It sort of pulled me away from some of the information it was trying to relay. But yeah,
there is a lot of stuff going on all at the same time, especially when, because we both watched the original version with subtitles. So you're reading and you're watching, and then the music comes in, and there's a lot of technical terms that it can be quite overwhelming, I think, when all of that's happening all at the same time.
That's right, and there's not an original release yet. Manga Entertainment and Funimation have picked it up, so it won't be too long before they've
get a dubbed version
coming out. But on to character. Design-wise, it's nothing groundbreaking. Most of the design is very modern. It's supposed to reflect the age of now, and they do it well. The weaponry and vehicles look great. Our leading characters are fresh and interesting. Some of the facial angles venture into a sharper, more angular style, which isn't aesthetically pleasing for me, but it only happens at some of the points. Then elements such as Jonah's red eyes were a little off-putting at first. I ended up warming to it, but I still think there could have been a better choice.
I thought it was a good choice because you usually associate evil characters with red eyes.
Yes.
And here we have the ambiguity of a child killing machine. What about the animation, Ray?
Look, it's good, but again, nothing really blew my mind. The action was quite sparse. When there is action though, it's nicely done and with a good choice of angles and some fine directorial decisions on movement. And the rest of it kind of seems a bit static. I don't know, but look, we've only just scratched the surface of this anime. I think it's going to be quite intense as it goes on.
I think so as well. I'm actually really intrigued by this series. I think it could be quite an interesting little storyline that's going to play out.
I think it's what you said about being a bit of a slow burn.
A slow burn, I think so.
Yeah.
Colour-wise, it's a little bland, I will say. It's very neutral colours, very washed out, but I think it makes up for it in texture, both environment and personalities in the characters. The characters themselves I find fascinating. I mean, Jonah is hardly the most sympathetic of characters.
No.
You can't get an in with him.
Yes.
And Coco, I'm pretty sure, is insane.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm
Quite
pretty
possibly.
sure. The rest of the personalities are really interesting and very charismatic, and they all kind of behave like this big, happy, arms-dealing family, which is a bit interesting. There's not as much whimsy or fantasy elements to it that a lot of the other anime that I've watched have, and I kind of like that.
Yes.
It's grounded and it's gritty and it's real. There's a lot of political things that are going on. I find it really interesting. I'm really keen to see how this pans out. It's a buy from me, and I can't wait to finish watching season 1 and then get on to season 2.
Yeah, well, either it's going to, work its way along and then reveal itself to be a big empty husk, or it's going to be awesome.
Yes.
I'm hoping for it to be the latter.
Please.
It's just there's not a lot of information coming forth, and so I think it's there's a lot yet to be revealed in the series. I'm really enjoying it. I think there's a lot of fine action. The characters are very interesting. I would like if there was a bit more of a stronger female presence in it, and perhaps if it was a bit softer.
Yeah.
I think that kind of juxtaposition would probably help a lot with the series.
Yep.
It probably helps strengthen a lot of those other storylines a lot more.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to give it a borrow, though. It just doesn't quite get across the line. I'm not going to, follow it doggedly, but I will continue to watch it because I am interested to see where it's going to go. But it's a bit of a risk for me at the moment, so I'm only going to sit on the fence with that.
Sit on the fence with that one.
Yes.
You're just a big softie, really, aren't you, Ray?
Shush.
I believe that children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way.
Seriously, you're quoting Whitney Houston?
Yeah, I think I am.
Why?
You should have started this
Yes,
bit.
I should have.
Okay, go.
Just ignore what just happened there. Okay.
Start over.
Start over. Do over. Okay, here at Kapow, as a lot of you guys will know, we like our all ages comics.
Yes, we do, sir.
Because, the young reader of today is tomorrow's rabid collector. So we thought we'd take a look at a few titles. Now, you will notice that I do say all ages comics, not kids comics, because the ones that we're looking at are really for everyone. Everyone can enjoy these.
Yeah, and with that in mind, let's have a look at My Little Pony.
Now, I know that you're being a smart aleck, but look, I loved My Little Pony when I was a kid, They were so cute and you could play with them, they were awesome. Anyway, my 4 hooved heroes have made a triumphant return in comic book form, and quite frankly, It's freaking awesome.
Really?
I really like it.
Look, I did actually think this was a nice little comic.
Yeah.
I think, you know, even... I'll admit, sneer a little bit at the title. You know, friendship is magic.
It's My Little Pony.
I know. That's the whole thing that it's
Yes.
doing. And I think even maladjusted individuals like myself can put aside their bloodlust for just a few moments, an afternoon, and get a nice little happy fuzzy from reading a comic like this. So yeah, you know what? I'm going to give it a buy.
Good. I'm also giving it a buy. It's really quite funny. There's a lot of humor, especially in this particular one, which will appeal to the older, and there's a few kind of Easter eggs in there as well, if you can find them. It's definitely a buy for me. It kind of makes me wish that I still had my Applejack and my Moon Dancer.
Moon Dancer. Okay, well, moving on, the next one we looked at is another title that's become quite popular lately, Adventure Time.
Yes, now this is one of those comics that has bridged the gap between TV and comic, and it takes another childhood favourite of mine. It takes the form of a choose-your-own adventure.
Yes, now I have seen this in comics before with Mike Carey's Unwritten.
Unwritten, yeah.
Yeah, he had something the same in one of those issues, and there, as here, I didn't really think it worked that well.
Really?
No.
I really enjoyed it. I kind of, I like reading all the little stories and occasionally cheating and looking at the back and seeing how they finish.
I am shocked, sir.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not
No,
at
you're
all. No. But look, I don't know. It didn't really fly for me. I mean, I'm darting around all over the page trying to... it's way more work than I want to put in for a comic. So, look, I'm not saying it was bad. I like the artwork. Yep. I had a nice sense of humour to it. Had good energy. So I'm still giving it a borrow.
Okay, well, I really liked it, and I liked the choose your own adventure style. Yes, the art is great. It's bold, it's bright, it's funny. There's a lot of kind of tongue-in-cheek jokes and things in there as well. Yeah. I think it's a good one that everybody will enjoy, so it's a buy from me as well. Okay. Now, next off the rack, but along a similar vein, we have Bravest Warriors.
Now this one I was completely on board with.
Yeah?
I really enjoyed this one. It's got a really nice sense of humour to it. It has a bit of gladiatorial combat between two cupcakes. It's pretty good. And it also takes a few nice stabs at horror movie tropes as well. I really enjoyed this one. I'm giving this one a buy.
Yeah, look, I agree with you. I found this really quite entertaining to read, and the humour in it's not too heavy. It's still quite light. It's quite cheeky. I think once again this is a true all ages. Everybody's gonna get something out of it. Yeah. I'm actually gonna keep reading the series because I think it's awesome. It's a buy from me as well.
All right, now finally we had to have a look at one of the Simpsons
comics, of course
I think.
We did.
Yeah, I mean the Simpsons had been a part of my life for so long. I find it hard to remember a time when they weren't around.
I don't think it exists.
Yeah, I know. It's been quite a while. Yes. But I got to be honest, I think it's been quite a while since the show's been funny, at least to me.
Yeah, look, I keep agreeing with you in this. It's really weird. But I do agree. I now watch The Simpsons if it's on for more of a nostalgia kick than to actually get some laugh out loud chuckles. And quite honestly, for me, this comic, it didn't add to that. It didn't come up to par.
See, I actually quite enjoyed this one, The Simpsons Super Spectacular. It's sort of playing with the whole superhero thing in the Simpsons context. And I actually thought it was quite fun, It does a nod to a few, well-known characters like Oracle and Huntress. And, Radioactive Man shows up.
I do like Radioactive Man.
Oh, yes. Just makes you think of all the old episodes of Simpsons. Yes. The goggles do nothing. It's good stuff, all good stuff. So look, I really quite enjoyed this one. It's got a cheeky little sense of humour, gave me a few chuckles. I'm giving it a buy.
Well, I am going to give this one a borrow. Okay. For me, I will admit, I was never a big Simpsons fan. I do find it kind of funny. There was a few bits in there that I did go, that's kind of cute, that's kind of funny, but I found it was a little too self-referential for it to be truly accessible by all ages. So it's a borrow from me.
Fair enough. Well, there you go, folks. A few options as we move into the Yuletide season. Maybe a few gift ideas.
Well, they're great gift ideas as well. Now, obviously, that was just a couple of titles in the immense amount that is actually out there. Yeah. And they're just single issues as well. There's graphic novels out there as well, which are amazing for all ages. I think it's really important to get a younger audience getting involved and getting them reading these fantastic stories that are out there. So get into it. There's some cool stuff to check out.
Yeah, and keep in mind, you might buy these for your niece, nephew, kid, but you'll probably end up reading it yourself. Maybe get a couple of copies, because there's a few here you might want to keep for yourself.
Absolutely.
as some of you will know, I am pretty much obsessed with crime noir.
Yes, and I am pretty much obsessed with cats.
Yes, I've seen your Instagram.
Yes.
And given these facts, it's actually pretty strange that it's taken us almost 3 full seasons to get around to looking at Juan Diaz-Canales' graphic series, Blacksad.
Now, cards on the table, we were expecting some pretty high things from this book going in. You know,
we certainly were.
We certainly were, but did it deliver? Hell freaking
really
yes,
did.
it did. It really, really did. Now, I would like to say that a very loyal Kapowian did ask us in season 1 to review Blacksad, even to the point of offering to send their copy from the US to us to have a look at, which we politely declined.
We couldn't risk it.
Oh, dangerous sending it through there. Now, volume number 2 has just recently been released. We finally got our hands on volume 1, so couldn't resist, had to check it out.
Absolutely. Now, for the uninitiated, Blacksad is the story of a private investigator called John Blacksad. Now, he is your classic film noir PI.
Amazing.
You know, right down to the trench coat and the nicotine dependency.
Yep.
This guy, he investigates what he wants to investigate, he bucks the establishment, he receives and dishes out a huge amount of beatings over the course of this first volume. He is everything that a good PI should be.
Plus, he's a cat.
Yes, he is.
Yes, he is. And that's where things get very interesting in this book. Now, animals as our main characters are certainly not a new concept. To anyone who's read the astounding and Pulitzer Prize winning book Mouse will already be familiar with this concept.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit different
Well,
here.
I mean, this was why I was a little bit concerned going in. I mean, look, John Blacksad is a fantastic character.
Really is.
These are fantastic stories. But I was wondering what the purpose of the whole animal thing was. Whether it was just being used as a gimmick to give it a bit of difference.
Yeah, and I can understand that concern, but it's so not.
Yeah,
it really isn't.
It's really not. I mean, obviously the artwork is fantastic on these characters.
Yes, now on the artwork...
No, can I make my point first?
Fine.
Thank you. You will get to it. You will get to it, I promise. Now, as I say, the artwork on these guys is fantastic, but there needed to be a greater reason than this guy's really good at drawing animal people. You know, there needed to be a reason for that anthropomorphization.
It's a great word.
It is. I think it's in the dictionary. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
We'll look it up later.
But the thing is, you know, these characters, their personalities are actually displayed through which animal they are.
That's right.
Which is where the real genius of it is. I mean, in Mouse, as you mentioned, which animal you were depended on your race.
That's right.
Whereas here, it reveals so much about each individual character, which animal they are. And you realize that as you go through, you just realize how much is being presented to you. It's such a fusion of excellent narrative and excellent artwork working together.
So good.
Blew me away.
Yeah. Art now?
Yes, it does deserve to be spoken about.
It
really
so does.
Yeah.
Juan Jormungand does such a beautiful job, and he has pretty much cemented himself in Sonia's top 5 favourite artists.
How many are in that top 5?
About 25.
Yeah, I thought so.
Doesn't shush. His use of colour, his use of framing, the texture, the perspectives, it's all so beautifully done. But what really gets me is the emotional content that you get from these characters, these animal faces. And it's whether they're feeling that emotion or whether they're hiding it, because film noir, so everyone has a secret.
And an agenda.
And an agenda. And it's so beautifully drawn out in this.
It's quite realised within what it's shown,
and the movement of everybody. Everyone moves as their animal. Blacksad, whenever he jumps over something or when he's in a fight,
great,
there's this feline grace to him.
When he's crouching up on top of
things.
things.
Very predatory.
I love it.
It is so wonderful. Obviously, I cannot say enough about the extraordinary art in this book. It's just... everything is in its place and perfectly placed.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly, I have already taken an image from Blacksad and put it as the desktop image on my computer. I couldn't stop myself.
You have.
No, it's cool.
No, it's very cool. It's very cool.
You were disparaging.
Calm down. I wasn't disparaging. Now, look, we could talk about the themes in Blacksad for this entire episode.
Easily.
There's so much in there, but in a tiny nutshell, it's set in the 50s and it deals with everything from the race issues through to communism, and it doesn't pull any punches. It's all out there, and
it's quite confronting at times.
It is confronting. It's quite in your face, but it also has this amazing heavy-hitting film noir storytelling to back it up. So it just perfectly balances those big issues with the strong story. It's not a big enough word. I don't have a word that kind of encapsulates what I want to say.
That's
But
our system.
that's all I've got. So bye, bye, bye.
Yes, a bucket load of bye.
Yes.
I agree. Look, this really is quite a striking piece of work. It's one of the finest graphics I've come across, and I think it deserves to be read by everyone. Everyone should have a look at this one. It really is quite something special. So, look, buy it for the fantastic artwork. Buy it for the really solid, intricate storytelling. Buy it to enrich your life. Just buy it. Just buy it.
Buy it.
Why aren't you? You know, no, wait.
Finish the episode, then go buy it.
Buy it.
Yes.
All right then, guys and guyettes, that is all the reviews we have for this week. Done for the week.
Yes.
But I want to thank everybody who's been sending in their entries for our Lovesac competition.
Yes, of course.
Those have been great. So remember, there is still time. There is still time. You can get those in up until December the 16th.
Yes.
Get yourself a Lovesac.
Get it in there.
They're awesome.
Absolutely. Now, next week will be our final episode for 2012.
It's crazy.
Sad. It's sad. It's crept up. We will be doing a fantasy spectacular.
Yes, we will.
Meet us next week with your wizard hats, with your magic wands.
And my axe.
And his axe. Thanks, guys. We'll see you then. Bye.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I got it.
There's a dwarf.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Fellowship. Oh, we're off to Mordor. But you can't just walk into Mordor. That's the thing.